Joining me now is Matlala Setlhalogile from the Wits School of Governance. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, following weeks of discussion, opposition parties are finally sitting down, trying to chart a way forward to unseat the governing party. Of course, questions around whether or not they will be successful are those that loom. What's your take?
Malempo, I think, firstly, we need to highlight that the 7 political parties that have gathered in Kempton Park, only about 3 contested the last national elections, and they've garnered about 27% of the national vote. So as things stand currently, the political parties that are gathered in Kempton Park do not have sufficient electoral support to unseat the ANC. And that's the first point. Secondly, in as much as the 7 political parties that have gathered in Kempton Park have identified a number of key priority areas that they will focus on, one would sense that later there would be a clash of values. Remember that social problems in South Africa are not very hard to identify. I mean, we're a country hit with crisis after crisis. The eradication of poverty, for instance, ensuring that there's job creation, ending load shedding, and ensuring energy security. Those are social problems that are easily identifiable in the country. But the values that will underpin the response or policy responses to those crises, that's where the challenge lies for those political parties that are gathered currently in Kempton Park. So one would sense that in future there will be a clash of values in addressing the social problems identified by these political parties as the key priority areas.
Yeah, I mean, you speak about clash of values. We heard Professor William Gumede, who was chairing the discussion, saying the details of the vision are yet to be shared, and that will probably happen at the end of the convention once they've been formally signed by all parties. Do you think that a binding document will perhaps force the parties to always look to a solution instead of clashing and then disagreeing and breaking?
I mean, what level of legal enforcement would the charter that these parties are currently establishing have in the future? Some tend to miss the fact that coming together forming a coalition is one thing. The most important aspect is actually honoring and adhering to the principles of the coalition agreed beforehand. Those are 2 separate processes. Currently, what's happening in Kempton Park is the first process, agreeing on principles of the coalition framework. And what will come is once these political parties win some sort of seats in the National Assembly and they start working together in practice, will they be able to honor that charter that they're putting together now? Hence, I indicated that the issue of values is quite important, because ultimately, the different political parties bring a different set of values into this coalition talks. And one might also point out that in as much as the seven political parties gathered in Kempton Park, to be quite honest, half or more than half of those political parties are not even known, to be quite honest. There are political parties without a track record. One would assume that they're actually using this as a vehicle to secure themselves some sort of space or seat at the table through this coalition that otherwise as independent political parties they would not get.
Yeah. In fact, as you say that, we heard, listening into the discussions yesterday, that there are calls for many other opposition parties that are outside the process to come forward. But I suppose that in itself raises questions about how this core group will then engage with those many other political parties.
Mpo, I would stick to this point of values, clashing values. We're seeing in local government level where coalitions have not necessarily been stable in the country. Yes, we do understand that there's a transition in the political spectrum in the country where coalition governments might become the new norm In fact, they are a new normal at local government level. But one of the things that have contributed to the instability of coalition governments at that level of or sphere of government has been the clash of values. The minute this group of 7 invites more political parties to join in, there will be a diversity of values. And managing that diversity of values, it will be the most critical aspect with going forward with this coalition charter. Because remember, as I indicated earlier, identifying social problems is easy. The how part, how to solve those social challenges, is the most critical part, because the values of any organization influences their policy proposals and policy trajectory. And because of the diverse nature of values that are brought on by these different political parties, there will be a clash of ideas in terms of how to go about fixing the challenges that South Africa currently experiences.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let's perhaps leave it there for now. Thank you for your time, helping us make sense of day 2 of the matter that is underway. Political parties coming together in Kempton Park to form a convention. That is something we will be watching throughout the course of the day. Matlala Setlhalogile from the Wits School of Governance.